Hi everyone, hope you're well. My name is Kim Wong. I'm originally from London and I'm here today to share my experience as an independent tea shop owner and tea consumer here in Argentina. I'm joined by my dear friend who is a tea producer, Taro Kaeriyama. Feel free to send any questions in. Hope you're going to enjoy our session today and see you real soon. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Taro Kaeriyama. I'm fourth and third generation of a Japanese family producing tea here in Argentina. So why fourth and third generation? Because my grandparents and my grandparent came from Japan in the 1920s and in the 1930s. Since the 1930, my family is producing tea here in this rich soil, Misiones.
Hi everybody, welcome to the tea session. Thank you for joining us today and thank you so much for the invitation. Welcome to Argentina and our world of tea. My name is Kim Wong. I am based in Córdoba in the heart of Argentina and we're here with our tea friend Taro Kaeriyama who is based in Siones. Hi there, how are you doing?
Hi. I'm very fine, you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for connecting. Let's get this going.
Yeah,
So people who don't know me, my name is Kim Wong. I am born and bred in London with family roots in Hong Kong, and as I said before, I live in Córdoba. Actually, to be more specific, I'm based in a small town called Villa Medrano, and we are about 10,000, no more than that. So compared to London, it's quite a small place. But anyway, it's amazing here. I live in Argentina. I am an independent tea shop owner, a tea consumer, and passionate to get people together to develop tea knowledge, tea experiences, and just to share tea basically. So a few years ago, I decided to source or try to source Argentine tea in order to provide quality to my customers and for myself as a tea consumer. So that's how I developed and got to know Taro and his family from Teawind. We'll come back to that a bit later, but for the people who don't really know much about Argentina, maybe it's good to share a few country facts. So let's go with that. Argentina is the world's eighth largest country, with Buenos Aires as its capital. Most people probably know Buenos Aires, Mendoza, Salta, Patagonia. And Misiones as well, but not so much for the tea plantations, more for Iguazu Falls. But we'll come back to Misiones in a bit. Argentina counts about almost 45 million in terms of population, according to stats in 2019. The most concentration is in the urban areas. I think about 90%, so that's quite a number.
Yeah.
The official exchange rate as linked to the US dollar today stands at about 70 Argentine pesos, and that's changing constantly. So to give you an idea of how we look at it. The country consists of about 1,400 kilometers across at its widest, stretches about 3,800 kilometers from the subtropical north to the sub-Antarctic south. So imagine how big Argentina is in terms of for traveling. We usually fly when we have to move around. Otherwise, we take a long road trip, which is amazing too. We just need a good few days to do that. But it's definitely worth because it's amazing how the landscape changes as we connect from province to province. We are quite lucky because we're bounded by 5 countries, which include Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, Brazil, and Uruguay. So we're very well connected. When it comes to the national identity, we are very diverse in cultures, in customs, and that's got a lot to do with the immigration which happened in the late 19th century to the early 20th century, mainly from Italy and Spain and other European countries, but also countries such as Japan and Taiwan as well. So that's the amazing beauty we have in Argentina today. The country is a great source of valuable minerals. Most important, however, has been the production of livestock and cereals. But today we're here to talk about tea, so let's go back to Misiones. Misiones is a province which lies in the northeastern part of Argentina, where our friend Taro is today. As I mentioned before, most people tend to pass Misiones to visit the amazing site of Iguazu Falls, but most people forget there are amazing tea plantations to visit too. So that's probably one of our objectives today, I think, to get tourism going there too. Hopefully it'll be like Mendoza of wines in the future, Misiones for teas.
Yeah.
We're going to be working on that. In case you don't really know Misiones, it has subtropical weather. It has an amazing colour in its soil. I would say it's a mix of rust to deep red coloration in its soil. And I truly believe that is part of the characteristic of Argentine tea today when we talk about it. Taro will talk a bit more about the characteristics, but I believe we're still trying to develop the flavour and the tea characteristics pegged Argentine teas. Argentina, most of its production, about 90% of the production is actually exported, and the main market is the American market in the United States for the iced teas. So you can imagine what actually stays in Argentina is quite little in terms of production. But we are mainly producing black tea. Green tea follows shortly, and there are a few amazing family producers who are experimenting with tea and oolong. So that's definitely to be kept an eye on, because that will be some amazing discoveries in the future. And as I said, there are a few families such as Taro and Tea Wind who are focusing on specialty tea. And that is very exciting for us as tea consumers here. So hopefully one day we'll definitely be able to compete with the European and international market as a whole. So coming back to me as a tea shop owner, it's very exciting times for me, but I think we should talk about some pros and cons of having a tea shop in Argentina to give you an idea of what it's like. Let's start the cons. We compete with a national beverage, which is mate. It's an amazing drink. You can actually find plantations next to the tea plantations as well. So we are literally next door to each other competing with this beverage. It's a lot to do with national identity, so it's not very easy to kind of break the habits there. It's a drink to find a way to complement. So that's our main issue, I would say. High inflation is another issue we face on a day-to-day basis in Argentina. So as a tea shop owner, I am constantly looking at my price list for my suppliers. I need to be very aware of that in order to be quite competitive, especially if it is a tea business. So, and then it's also quite difficult to source quality teas from abroad. That's another issue we have. Thankfully, when I tend to travel to see my family in London, that's when I can get hold of quality tea to bring back to show my customers, if not to consume for myself. My pleasure there. But there are definitely pros of being a tea shop owner in Argentina, I must share. That's got a lot to do with the fact that in Argentina we have tea plantations. So for me, it's very accessible. I have direct contact today with the tea farmers, so I can collect honest information. I collect new samples. I don't have to travel very far because on a normal basis, it's just literally a plane ride away. And I'm there to share a cup of tea with Taro and his family. I can see the plants for myself. I can see how they're working. And I honestly feel like we are part of a very interesting developing market in Argentina today. Lots of interesting works are coming out of these tea farmers. And it's definitely my objective to share honest information to my customers and for myself as a tea consumer. Yeah. So that's the objective for me. And I think it's very important today. And on an annual basis, I must say the tea interest is picking up. So that gives me a lot of pleasure, a lot of excitement to keep going my tea project, keep improving the tea awareness in Argentina itself. Because as I say, we are competing with a national beverage. Yeah. It's not easy to compete with that drink, but we will get that at some point. At least that's what we're seeing, I think. So I'm going to hand the space over now to our friend Taro, who will share his experience as a tea producer. Okay. Thank you, Taro.
Okay, Kim, thank you. And of course, it's a pleasure to talk with you always. But my pleasure today is to talk with you, all of you people that are interested in what we are doing here in Argentina with the teas. So let me present myself first. I'm Taro Kaeriyama. I'm fourth and third generation of a Japanese family producing tea here in Argentina. And it's really strange for you to say why Japanese people are producing tea in Argentina. Yeah, in the 1930s, 1920, my family came from Japan, specifically from Shizuoka, and they bring together some seeds of tea to South America. So I will talk about that later. First, I want to introduce you about our industry tea, or tea industry here in Argentina. Argentina is the ninth most important producer of tea in the world in quantity. We are talking about quantities. We produce around 105,000 tons of tea per year. And you say, why we don't know anything about Argentina teas? And that's because it's simple. The 100% of what is produced here in Argentina is industrial tea. Is the fanning tea, that very dusty tea that ends on blends for tea bags or ends in a product like RTDs, iced teas, or for extracts. Many companies, foreign companies, produce extract with our teas just to end in products like medicines, pharmacy products. There's many products that they made with our teas, with our industrial teas. As Kim says, the most tea produced here in Argentina is black tea, and green tea is right behind, but black tea is the most important and all industrialized. Okay, as Argentina started producing teas in the 1930s, in those times, all the tea was produced by hand. Every family had a little tea plantation and produced tea by the everyday consumption and to sell for the exporters. And all those tea was full leaf teas and orthodox teas and really exquisite teas. And that techniques were lost by time due to the industrialization of our production. So luckily, we are in Argentina, many families, including us, well, many no, we are talking about 5 families that we started to, why we lost all those techniques, why we had to recover those old techniques of producing teas, and that's how we start looking for old photos and asking my grandmother and my grandfather, how did you produce those exquisite teas that you made those in those years, in many years ago? And we start recovering and writing down all the techniques. And 10 years ago, we were able to remake those teas that were made in Argentina. And it's a beautiful new way to be in, because we are discovering a lot of new products we can make with the same plantation. Of course, we know we can, when we produce industrial tea, we know that we can produce many other full leaf teas, but we didn't change our mind to stay away from that production and start this new production that is full leaf teas or specialty teas that we are making today. So Kim later she can tell you more about what we are doing, this interesting new way of producing tea here in Argentina that is basically going back to the old techniques. So I have to tell you my family history because it's all connected with this new brand we want to make for our country, for our tea production in our country. Well, my family came from Japan in the 1920s until 1936. They were producing yerba mate. It was the main production and still being the main production. There you can see yerba mate was the main production of Misiones. But in the 1936, my grandfather managed to bring from Japan. The tea seeds, the Camellia sinensis seeds, and well, he knows that Argentina land, Argentina Misiones soil, was perfect for tea plantations. When he brings, he brought the seed, the plantations goes very, very well, and he was able to produce a beautiful green tea that he was selling in the community, Japanese community here in Misiones, and for the day-to-day consumption in the family. In those times, in the 1930s, where all the tea production started in Argentina, all the families has, as I say, has their own tea plantation, and all was made by hand. And as well, my mother's side family that they are Polish immigrants, they also were producing tea in Argentina, and so I have in my blood, in my Polish blood and my Japanese blood, tea related history. So it's very rich for me to still continue this beautiful profession that is producing tea, because it's enriched my person, and what we are doing now is basically like make I don't know how to say, Kim, haciéndole honor a mis abuelos.
It's almost like a family recognition, I would say,
Yeah,
to
yes,
your family heritage.
it's beautiful to be in contact with our family tradition. For me, it's a pleasure. And of course, we have to work every day, work hard to make our teas best every day. So, well, you know the seeds that were bring from Japan came from the Shizuoka prefecture. As you know, Shizuoka prefecture is the main prefecture that produces tea in Japan, and that's why my grandfather knows a little bit of tea production when he came here to Argentina. You are wondering why we start letting aside or industrial tea production for a new way of production, that is the hand pick or more special, more quality tea and low scale production. It's because due to the industrialization and the commoditization of the production, it becomes centralized in just few companies. That is normal in any commodity production. And our family, we are not a big industry. We don't make many tons. We just produce around 200 tons per year of tea, industrial tea. You think that's a lot, but not. In Argentina, tea scale production is really really little bit, because a big company produces around thousands and 10,000 tons per year, and that's considered a medium and big tea producer here in Argentina. But all the production, industrial tea production is low price. So when the small companies start to don't have enough revenue to keep the company going on, so we think this is the best way to go through these future problems that we have if we continue in the industrial production. So the best way is to show tea consumer, the value that we have here, that we can make the lower quantity but higher quality teas, and that means harvest or tea by hand or by machines carried by hand. In that way,
Like in Japan.
yeah, like in Japan. Japan is that all the a big tea producer has around 5 hectares, 10 hectares, and here to be considered a big producer, a big tea farmer, you need around 500 hectares of tea. That's a lot. That's a lot. And in this new way of producing tea in Argentina, it's the only way for small farmers to go out through that problematic in the future. And basically, we are showing the added value we can make in our teas, that we can introduce in our teas by working differently, and of course, showing up and mark up our history. That is the main value that we have. As you know, Kim, many producers here are immigrant families, and they all came from other countries and bring their own techniques of tea production. So that we think is the most important thing, and the awareness of the quality of people that we have here in Misiones, we think is the best value that we have. So in our family, we have a really rich history and culture, and of course, they are a really exquisite tea to taste and to sell you people in our country. And of course, we are working to ship abroad our teas in just a few years. We are working on that. You know, Argentina is not easy to go to export small amount of tea. It's easy to export tons, but not kilograms. So that's where we are working, and hope you soon can taste our teas. How are we making this new style of production? It's just simple. We buy those machines that I have behind me. Those are machines that we use in China. When we bought that, we didn't know anything how to work with that machines. What we can do now with these machines to put just 7 kilograms inside there and do what? We are used to work with hundreds, thousands of kilograms per day, but just in its old belt conveyor tea style of production, a standard tea production. But now it's a very pleasure to us to work with these machines, because we have all the control that we have in the tea when producing with this machine is 100%. So we can control the timing, the weather, the temperature condition, the humidity conditions, and the time we roast our teas, when we make the withering. So it's very, very enriching for us as a producer, and it's very funny to work with this tea. Of course, Kim has the pleasure to work with us and produce some kilograms of tea here. We are working on that too. We want to sell the experience, of course, here in Argentina of producing tea. So I think we have a lot of potential here in Misiones. We have the rich soil, rich culture, many people that are interested in working in this new way, of style of production tea. So I think Argentina will be well known abroad as a producer of specialty teas and full leaf teas that know it ends in those RTDs.
So we're heading to a very bright future with
Yeah.
quality Argentine tea, I think, working with small families as well, which is very important.
Yeah, and I think you will be interested about plantation, how is conforming plantation and soil. Well, most of the plantation is Camellia assamica, because the industrial production here in Argentina demands a plant that produce a lot of raw material. So basically, most of 80% of the plantation, the plantation here in Argentina is Camellia assamica. But in the those first in those first decades when tea was produced in Argentina, many of the plantation was Camellia sinensis. Until the 1980s, plantations were made by seeds. Each seed was planted in the field, and those seeds, they are not clones. They are mixed with the Camellia sinensis and the pollen of the Samica, and we have a lot of plantation that we call here plantaciones semilla. Basically, they are hybrids tea plants between Samica and sinensis. So
Which
it's
happen
like
naturally.
yeah, that's a quality. That's basically a characteristic of our teas. When we in our family, we produce our specialty teas and our high quality teas with those plantaciones semillas, those arbors, and of course we have a plantation only sinensis, but it's a little bit far from our farm here. But that plantation was the first Japanese tea plantation that was made by my grandfather.
It's an honor to your family,
Yeah, that's a
honor to
gift.
your grandfather.
Yeah, that's his gift for us and for next generation, of course. Our teas are really interesting. We have some people in Europe that has the pleasure to taste our teas, and we have very nice reviews from them, very nice comments about our teas. So it has a potential to compete with those teas in China, Sri Lanka, and of course, if every people will be interested to taste a specialty tea from Argentina, I think. So what about our soil? Argentina soil, Misiones soil specifically, because Argentina has many other soils. It's very rich. Argentina, our soil is very extensive, and of course, Misiones has iron kind of soil. It's total red. It's totally you know Kim. I don't know if I say okay. It's red. It's a red soil.
It's extremely red soil,
Yeah,
basically.
and that color came from the oxidation of the iron that is mixed in our soil. It has a lot of calcium. It says not a lot because we have an acid kind of soil, not so alkalino. Alkaline soil. We don't have so too much alkaline soil, but we have many minerals. So that give us or teas a lot of characteristic interesting comparing to other countries' teas. So I think we have a lot of things to learn from our soil, from our plants, from us, because every day, as I always say, from people that visit us or has the pleasure to talk with us, is that we have many things to learn from the tea, from what we are doing, from the soil, from the weather, and a lot of things to improve. The tea production is a way of continuous improvement, and when we started this 10 years ago, 12 years ago, sorry, to recover those techniques, all the ancient techniques, we thought that those first teas that we made, those was the very best teas, and we can go over that tea, but we say no, wait, we can go pick by hand now, and we can make a better tea, and we can shade our teas, or we can let our tea plants grow as a wild tree, and we did that. We did that, and started to discover that we can make a lot of many other things, improve a lot of our teas. We changing way of production, or changing our way of how we manage our tea fields. So it's a continuous improvement working with tea here in Argentina, and I thought we have a lot of potential to become recognized around the world as a specialty tea producer.
Definitely very exciting times to be working together as well as
Yeah.
shop owner.
Yeah, I really
and the tea
appreciate my relationship with Kim, because she was at the first time we produced our specialty teas, and he knows how effort we make to work with this new kind of production.
It's a real pleasure, and it's a real pleasure to be able to share this amazing product with my customers here as well. So it's very much about working together and being honoured for the information and developing at every stage. But thank you for letting me be part of this as well.
Yeah, thank you for me. Thank you, you people that are hearing us. Please ask us anything you want to know in the Q&A session that we are going to have now. Please feel free to ask everything. I will try to do my best to answer your questions. Okay?
We'll be waiting for your questions. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you
time.
so much.